once. Multiple touchdown games have not really been his thing. He's been getting it done on the ground somewhat, not what we expected from last year. Would you feel – I'm playing Josh Allen today. I feel pretty good about it. I think we're going to get a deep pass to John Brown as usual. I think Cole Beasley is a good play. Josh Norman, I don't think feels good after –
Fort Knox mentioned. I hate how you keep omitting him. Dawson Fort Knox.
It's funny because at the beginning of the year, I liked him as a sleeper, and I haven't mentioned him since, but you've been on my case about it, and it makes me guilty. It makes me feel good, and I'm glad to have you as a co-host because of it. However,
I'm just a guest. I'm just here to ruin things.
I just think that until Knox truly takes over, we've been seeing some of Tyler Kroft here and there as well. So I think Knox is a great dynasty guy to have on your team, but this year, I mean, you can find better plays at tight end. We'll talk about those later. I think there's a lot of good streaming tight ends to play. As far as the 10.5-point spread, guys, how do you feel about that? Do you think this dynamic at times Buffalo offense can take advantage of this Washington defense in such a way, or do you think it's going to be more Haskins making mistakes and them getting buried that allows them to cover the spread?
I think it's going to be a closer game than people realize because, like I said, Haskins getting the full week of preparation as QB1. Now he's getting to work with everything in his offense. Peterson's going to know how he works as a QB. And the Bills always seem to leave teams in games this season, so it wouldn't surprise me to see like a one-score final difference. Like I'm talking about 1 or 2 points.
Overall, the over-under for this game is 37, so that's what you can expect. That's what the Vegas has. The Vegas odds have this game as obviously not a very high-scoring affair. So I do think it's going to be mostly a defensive struggle. I think Allen has to make a few plays with his legs here and there. I do think John Brown will get loose, so you guys playing John Brown can feel confident about it. But, yeah, I think the Bills win. The 10.5-point spread is fine with me. I think they cover. Jay, what do you think about it?
Actually, I was doing the Twitter account, so you guys are going to have to catch me up by talking a little bit. Sorry.
How do you feel about Buffalo and the 10.5-point spread at home against Washington today?
Oh, they should cover that, I think. The Redskins are terrible. They're just
awful.
They're bad.
Now, Dwayne Haskins, do you think he throws a touchdown today, Jay?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's 50-50.
I'm putting the over-under at 1, so.
50-50. It's a flip of the coin.
Dave, you think he tosses 2?
I think he tosses 2. I think he tosses 1 old Terry Scary, and then also 2. Yes, I said it purposely like that. Also 2 because it sounds better. Scary Terry's, and it's just cliche. Terry Scary sounds better. But anyways, another one, Mr. Jammy Sprinkle.
Oh, give me some rainbow sprinkles and put them on top.
All over that ice cream, baby.
I like it. All right, so you like him to throw too. I'll hold you to it. Do you
throw? But I will pick the Bills to win it. But I'm going against the spread for the Skins to cover the spread. I think they're going to go ahead and finish within 7 points or less.
I got Bills 27-13. They cover and plus.
Moving on to the Tennessee-Carolina game, guys. This is an interesting one. Obviously, 2 quarterbacks that did not start the season for either of these teams. You've got Carolina favored by 3.5 coming into this game. Kyle Allen. Jay, your boy Curtis Samuel is not going to play today. On the Tennessee side of the ball, starting center Ben Jones is out. We'll see how that affects the rush game. However, Dave, you can be looking forward, hopefully, for a big game from Derrick Henry. Surprisingly, Carolina is allowing 135 rushing yards per game thus far. How do you feel about playing Henry today?
He's on pace for his highest statistical season, and I feel comfortable with him playing every game now. I have no problem starting Henry. He's proved a lot of our doubts. I had some in the beginning, but I mean, he's obviously shown he's a true running back, one like he was in Bama. So I think he's going to do just fine. The Panthers do have that weak link of the run game, but big question is can Kyle Allen step up without Curtis Samuel? He's been a huge safety net for him this year.
That's a good point. I think you can expect a lot of work for DJ Moore today, maybe even a Greg Olson type game. As usual, Christian McCaffrey is going to get a lot of work. How do you guys feel about Christian McCaffrey versus Russell Wilson MVP thus far?
Wow, no love for A-Rod. A lot of people are
Okay,
putting A-Rod top of the list and tied with Russell. I know
that's fair.
Jay's been a bit of argument right there with some people on that. Jay, wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you put Rodgers in there with Wilson and McCaffrey?
Done about as much with less. Let's be real. He doesn't have a
No
number
wide
one or
receiver
number
one.
two receivers. Yeah. His best has been a deep threat, which is MVS. And you can't put MVS at a 1, 2, or 3. He's just a deep threat. It's a different role. It's a Ted Ginn type of role. He's not a 1. He's not a 2. Its specific role is deep threat guy. Everybody else is just a guy who's stepping up. Wilson has got a number 1 overall pick in Metcalf, a stud in Lockett. He had Disley. He's got 2 really good pound at running backs.
Ed Dixon came back too just recently.
I mean, and I'm not saying Aaron Jones and Williams aren't anything, but people were not expecting what they've done with them. Well, we were, but everybody else said we were crazy.
Chris Carson's also averaging, 130 yards a rushing game like the past month? Chris Carson's been killing it. So that's why I think A-Rod's got a little bit more with less. Agree with Jay 100%. But I think McCaffrey's fallen off because he's had a couple games where he's had under 60 yards this season. Yeah, he's had touchdowns, but his yards keep going down.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would almost say I would have McCaffrey right there. I'm a big McCaffrey fan. I think that with Kyle Allen stepping in and him putting up the numbers he still has, and this team was on a roll until the 49ers game, I would have McCaffrey right up there as well. Obviously, it's tough to give it to running backs anymore because, I mean, even though they technically don't touch the ball every play, it seems like McCaffrey finds a way. For this game, as far as streaming tight ends, I like Jonnu Smith a lot. He went 6 for 78 and a touch last week. You can do a lot worse than playing Jonnu Smith against Carolina, even though he's obviously going to have Luke Kuechly on him. As far as the spread goes, guys, I have a great stat as far as Mike Vrabel goes. I know it hasn't been a super successful bout as a head coach for him in Tennessee, but Vrabel is 8-2 against the spread, 7-3 outright as an underdog of at least 3 points. So that is working in Tennessee's favor this week. I actually do like Tennessee I'll take them with the points. I like them to cover that 3.5 point spread.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Tennessee covers the spread and wins it. I think Tannehill's a new burst of energy that they haven't had. The past 2 games, he's got W's, and their defense has been showing up. The Tennessee's also been getting healthier for the most part. Yeah, their center's out, but for the most part, they've been getting healthier. So, and Corey Davis and A.J. Brown are being utilized guys, not underutilized like Mariota was missing every other frickin' pass to him. No, Tanny has been slinging it, and it's been good to see them actually utilize the weapons they have.
Yeah, and it sucks they don't have Delaney, but like I said, Jonnu Smith stepped up well last week. We'll see if he can continue because he kind of had his opportunity last year and faded real fast. Jay, how do you feel about this game? Do you like Carolina or do you like Tennessee?
No, I got Tennessee 21-13. My theme for this week when I think about matchups is regression to the mean. And it really goes back to the teams that are running hot. And I know everybody's going to say, well, San Francisco. Well, there's exceptions to every rule. But I think those teams also have their starting quarterback and all this. I think the teams that have been running hot on these high flyers with guys that weren't expected to do good, I think it's time for them to come back down to the pack and have a little back. It's a regression to the mean. And so I think we saw it a little bit last week with the Panthers, and I think it continues again into this week. I think once you lose, it gives other teams an idea of what to do to be able to beat you. And, that regression to the mean. That's my theme this week, people.
I like it.
Fantasy-wise, Corey Davis 2 weeks ago had himself a nice game. Last week was a disappointment. Would you feel more confident playing Corey Davis or DJ Moore this week?
I'm going to go DJ Moore because Carolina's secondary is still good.
Same here.
Yeah.
What about on his own team, Corey Davis or A.J. Brown?
A.J.
Davis
Brown.
on
I feel like
both.
Really? I feel like A.J.
Davis.
Brown is a better route runner. Like, he's so crisp. If you go watch him, what he did at Ole Miss, and then now he's doing exactly the same thing he did in college, was that crisp route running. I feel Corey Davis, I don't know, he's inconsistent. Like Dillon just said, I didn't mean to cut you out, Jake. Dillon. So what I'm going to go ahead and say this. Corey Davis, you just said 2 weeks ago. What did he do last week? That's my point. Is he's got to be more consistent. AJ's still kind of been that number one, sadly. Corey's moved to number 2. So I'm gonna go AJ on both. That's just me.
Jay, do you like Corey Davis in those matchups or in those either ors?
Deep threat, and Tanny likes to throw the ball down the field. And what he just said makes my point, because the crisper, the better route runner, the more consistent player always gets more attention, opening up the more inconsistent player to have a big game. And then he said he didn't do anything last week. It's every other week. Well, then this would be his week.
Oh, he's going off the who did what last week. I love it.
My point for me. I'm not doing
Well, technically we went off the who did what the last 2 weeks, so we're not much better.
Hey, I just love A.J. Brown. I'm going to stick with him. I wanted him in the draft. Sadly, we bolstered up defense. Well, no, not sadly. We bolstered up Packers defense. I wanted him for the draft. I love A.J. Brown. I think he's better than Metcalf.
Of those 3 guys, surprisingly, the only non-first rounder. Moving into the Chicago-Philadelphia game, guys. Fly, Eagles, fly. Chicago sitting at 3-4. Philadelphia sitting at 4-4. A crucial game for both teams trying to stay in the playoff hunt. Philadelphia at home, currently favored by 4 points. Dave, don't you give me that look. This is going to be quite an interesting game, guys. Jason Peters has been ruled out already, as well as I'll get back to it. Oh, Nigel Bradham. So you're going to have Andre Dillard making the start. You're going to have Khalil Mack lined up against him the entire game, I would imagine.
This will show what the Rook's made of right there.
Yeah, this makes me nervous. Fortunately, Darren Sproles is back, and I mention that only because Darren Sproles, in spite of his size, is excellent in pass protection. I've seen him put some very large men on their backside with a good chip block.
I watched Sproles put Za'Darius on his butt in that Packers game. Za'Darius is 6'4", 270. Darren Sproles like a little bowling ball that just hits you right in the sternum.
Yes, he's Mighty Mouse. I love him. Unfortunately, in his later years, he's been getting banged up a lot, so hopefully he can continue to get lots of snaps, play his role, be the punt returner that we need. We need some explosiveness back there. Chicago coming into this one, the defense has been less than stellar, especially since losing Akeem Hicks. Obviously, right now, having Jordan Howard doing as well as he is.
I think he has a revenge game. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game for Howard. Maybe not 100 yards, but 100 total yards for sure, and a touch I'm predicting for Jordan Howard. It's a great week to play him as a flex, and maybe even an RB2 on the fringe.
The show, it's called a tutty.
He's getting the tutty today.
Respect,
He's getting
Jay.
100 overall yards. You heard it here. A stat that I don't like to see, Philadelphia is 0-5 against the spread when favored by 5 or less. So we'll see how that plays out. I like them to win this game outright. I think you're going to get a decent game from Alshon Jeffrey. I'm worried about the health of Deshaun Jackson, who is returning for this game after missing several weeks with an abdominal strain.
I read he's out by Ian Rappaport earlier.
So you read he's out now?
That's what I was reading by Ian Rapp. Is said looks like he was going to be out, and it looks like he was either looking at trying to play next week or go to IR. Is what I was reading.
Okay. Well, maybe we can get a producer update on the health of Deshaun Jackson. Last I knew, he was questionable and expected to play by Peterson. So we'll see. We definitely need the deep threat. That's what we've been missing these past few weeks. Aguilar it serves here and there. Like if we can get the play action going, Aguilar can get loose deep, but nothing on Deshaun Jackson. So we'll have to see.
I just saw the story from Ian Rapp. My bad.
On Chicago's side of the ball, I think it's going to be a disappointing week for David Montgomery. Philadelphia ranks in the top 7 as far as rush defense goes. They're not giving up a lot of points to running backs. I think Tariq Cohen will have a better day than Montgomery if that says anything, especially in PPR leagues.